Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, longtime professional astrologer, psychic, yogi, and healer. In today's episode, I'm excited to introduce my listeners to Jill Sylvester. Jill Sylvester is a licensed mental health counselor, therapist, and author, and a longtime friend and colleague of Jill Jardine. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. In today's episode, my guest is Jill Sylvester. As a licensed mental health counselor and therapist, Jill works with individuals in the arena of personal development counseling. In private practice for over 11 years, she has successfully guided thousands of client sessions towards stronger health and wellness and personal and professional transformation. Jill also works with people to deepen their understanding of the language of energy and intuition, drawing on her own experience working with intuition for over 30 years, as a parent raising healthy-minded children, as a remote viewer, including viewing cold cases with law enforcement and with clients in session. Jill is the author of 3 books. She is the host of the Trust Your Intuition podcast and creator of Planting the Seeds products. Jill's passion is to help individuals see past the darkness in order to find the light. And I'm happy to introduce you to Jill Sylvester. Welcome, Jill.
Hi, Jill. Glad to be here.
So glad to have you. We were talking off mic about what a busy time it is for mental health counselors and for people who do our type of work.
Big time. Big time.
What are you seeing? Is it mostly that you work with the parents of children who are going and the adults these days?
Adults always, individuals, men, women, and I stopped seeing kids because I really couldn't fit them into my caseload anymore, and I've been choosing instead to work with parents because I find that when I help parents help their kids, it really goes well. We have a few sessions and they have the tools and the strategies they need to make things better in their family, and then they're off and running and can certainly come back and check in. But I find, as a general rule, that works really well.
What a great gift that you're offering up at these crazy, chaotic times. I think the parents actually need it more than the kids. I have stressed out parents come into my practice every day.
Yeah.
And these, the Planting the Seeds cards, the positive energy cards that you have developed, you work with those extensively in your counseling.
Yes, I created those back when I started my therapy practice to use in session and to use with my kids at home because they were younger then. My daughter drew the first set, so that was really fun. So we have 2 sets, one for kids ages 5 to 8, and the second set is 8 to 12. And both sets of cards are about helping kids reprogram those neurotransmitters, get them firing in the right direction toward positivity, strong affirmations, starting the day that way. They're being used in classrooms with teachers, homeschooling. Now more than ever, we need it with parents. Just, at breakfast, just put a card down the table, pick it at random, start the day with, I'm a good friend. Okay, what does it take to be a good friend? So we're empowering kids and empowering parents to use these tools to help their kids help themselves. And I find they really aid in family discussions, not just with kids, but with parents too.
That is a beautiful offering. And these are the Planting the Seeds cards designed by Jill Sylvester, created by Jill Sylvester, and available on your website.
Yes.
Which is Jill Sylvester, SYLVESTER.com, as are all your books. Just one thing about these Planting the Seeds cards, that they basically are affirmations that can start the parents and the kids' day off on the right foot.
Yes.
And, that you said it, neuroprogramming, that's the way for health, healing of both the mental, physical, and emotional body, and that's the business that you do. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about, I have a copy of your book here, Trust Your Intuition, 100 Ways to Transform Anxiety and Depression for Stronger Mental Health by Jill Sylvester. And this book will help people to believe, trust their intuition, feel better, take good self-care, hold on. There is 100 simple tips and techniques designed to teach you to harness the power of your intuition, find meaning in your suffering, transform anxious and depressed feelings, and emerge stronger and more powerful than ever. This book, Trust Your Intuition, won a Nautilus Award, which is awarded to books that build a better world. I am so happy to be the recipient of a copy of this. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about this book and how it may help people in your process in putting it together?
Yeah, Trust Your Intuition was my second book. My first book was a middle grade novel, and this book is a self-help book. All my books are about the same thing. It's about how to navigate the darkness in order to find the light and how we do that. So this was straight up self-help. It's got the 100 ways, techniques, strategies to help people when they're in that really dark place and they don't know what to do. It's really essentially about becoming the great alchemist and turning it into gold and understanding what the universe is trying to tell us when we're in that place to hang on. There's the 5 sections of holding on, believing, taking good self-care, trust your intuition, and then ultimately feeling better, because it's a process, right? I mean,
Right.
we start in that place. It's really tough. We don't think we're going to come out of it. And so it's a trajectory of showing you how to hang on in that space, hold the space for a little bit, learn what that darkness is saying to you. Because in my experience, and this is where the book was born, it's 30 years of my own professional development, the tools that have helped me, the tools that I've been using in session for over a decade with clients, of how to navigate that space and not necessarily running from it, but coming to ally with it in order to arrive at that higher vibration.
Right. And everybody has to know that we have to go through the shadow to get to the light. As Carl Jung said, we do not become enlightened by imagining beings of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And so out in the world that you and I walk in, and especially, in more of like, as I'm an intuitive and a psychic as well, people try to spiritual bypass. And that means that they're not looking at their shadow content.
Yeah.
They're not looking at their subconscious. And as you said, we do not access these higher beings or the higher self if we don't deal with the subconscious and unconscious. That's like psychotherapy 101.
Absolutely.
But so many people want to avoid that process. And so this is a really good opportunity by just reading this book and your other books for people to access and understand it's okay to have shadow. We all have it. And we have to transform it in order to get to the goal of the higher self.
Yeah.
So these are really wonderful self-help offerings for people to work with this shadow material.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get it, right? When you're in it, you want to get out of it as quickly as possible. So,
Right.
we've all been there. We all understand it. These are the tools to show you how. So,
Wonderful. When we come back, we're going to talk about your podcast by the same name, Trust Your Intuition, so we can let listeners know what they can hear on your podcast, how to access it. So stay tuned. Welcome back. My guest today is Jill Sylvester. Her website is jillsylvester.com. She's a mental health counselor, therapist, and author. And we're going to talk about your podcast. You're also a podcast host of Trust Your Intuition podcast, available on all major platforms: Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Stitcher, soon to be on Amazon, Spotify, and many more. And so listeners can go and check out Trust Your Intuition podcast, hosted by Jill Sylvester. Jill, can you share with our listeners what they might expect to hear on your podcast, who some of your guests have been, what you talk about?
yeah, it's mostly just me. I'm just starting to interview, and I'm looking forward to having you on my podcast next
can't
month
wait.
as well. So will be exciting because I love your podcast.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We talk about any range of topics on wellness, navigating fear, how to talk back to your gremlins. That's a big term I use in session with clients and throughout my books, both in my fiction and nonfiction, how to navigate darkness through the light. Our most recent one was, have you said the enough is enough prayer yet? That's been a big theme that's come up. Parenting challenging kids during challenging times, 4 levels of wellness: mental, spiritual, emotional, physical. So it runs the gamut on all types of wellness topics. So.
Great stuff here on Trust Your Intuition podcast. And again, I will be a guest on your podcast in the near future. But what is that enough is enough prayer? That piques my interest. I'm not sure if I know that one.
Yeah, just saying it straight out to the universe. Like, I've had it. Enough is enough. Like, it's got to stop right here, and how to then, harness that energy to move forward so that you can stop where you are gain perspective and realize that whatever you're doing isn't working, and how to check in with yourself, because it's not everybody else. It's not out here, even though it seems that way. Check in with yourself and decide what you can do, because you might just be contributing to the chaos, and how to explore how to do that, and then move forward. Always about moving forward.
That's excellent. I've known Jill for 20 years. We were talking about this off mic, that you came to me as a client. I looked at your chart. I'm like, you are incredibly intuitive and psychic. And you were like, yes, I know. What should I do with it? And I think at the time where you were doing the cold cases for the police, you were finding missing children, which is a whole different animal, so to speak. But your intuition just has been getting stronger and stronger. I mean, you're a therapist, but people don't understand that, like, having that intuition and having that additional psychic sense goes a long way when you're working with clients.
It sure does, yeah.
Do you want to share anything with our listeners about that time period when you were working, finding the missing children? I know it's a kind of a tough subject, but I remember that. And I remember you did help local police in a couple cases.
Really, it's just that's how my intuition showed up for me.
Right.
Everybody has it. We're all intuitive. It just kind of broke wide open for me. I've always been an intuitive person. I've always been an empathic person, for sure, not understanding those terms until I was much older. I wish I did. And so part of the honor is working with kids and parents and people to help them understand it, so they don't have to take as long to figure that stuff out. Huge honor of mine in working with people like that. But having said that, that's how mine really broke open for me. Dreams is a big thing. I talk about that on my podcast. Working with dreams and just kind of following what the universe wants you to do. When you ask that question, how can I best be used? How do I use my intuition for the greater good? For me, it's just been following the yellow brick road. It started that way. I thought that's what I would do mostly. And it, brought me over to being a counselor and writing, which is my first love. And so I'm thrilled to be getting back to that. And really, it's just how I've used it in many different arenas over the past, 20 plus years or so.
Yes, you're a very gifted Aquarian. When we come back, we're going to talk about your other books, and the theme again of the light, the dark, and the light, and going through the darkness to get to the light. So stay tuned.
Folks, as the days get shorter and the nights get a little cooler, don't you just feel like sitting by the fire pit with a nice glass of wine to unwind? But you can't stand the pesticides and fillers and wine headaches you get from most wines? Let me tell you about Scout & Cellar Clean Crafted Wine. Scout & Cellar is organic, clean crafted, and always free of synthetic pesticides, chemical additives, and sweeteners. The best thing is, they have a whole range, from sparkling, white, rosé to red. Try this delicious pure wine straight from the grape to your glass. Order yours at Scout, SCOUT, and Cellar, CELLAR.com/Jill Jardine.
I'm with Jill Sylvester, mental health counselor, therapist, and author. Jill, let's talk about the other two books besides Trust Your Intuition. We'll swing back to that as well. But you've written two books. The first one I remember when you released that was almost like 10 years ago, The Land of the Blue. And the second one, Devon, Dream Agent Awakening. Let's talk about Land of the Blue, because that was your pivotal debut as an author.
Yeah, Land of Blue I started writing probably about 10 years ago. It came out in 2017. That's my baby. It's really the world we're living in right now, the Land of Blue. It's a metaphor for addiction, depression, and anxiety. Oh, wow. And it's a young adult fiction novel, and it's told through a 12-year-old's eyes and her journey to find her father who's gone missing in the Land of Blue, and the story of what happens when she chooses to go into the Land of Blue to find him. So it's for kids to learn how to navigate depression and anxiety and OCD. It's also for kids to learn how to understand sometimes the things we see in the dark, and sometimes that can be a scary process. That's something that came up in therapy, which is where the seed was planted for the book. I found a lot of kids who saw things,
Oh, wow.
And just normal kids, who
Yes.
to just see things. And I thought, I have to write about this. I have to reach more people to talk about this because it is definitely a thing, in addition for adults. And the book is also a great parenting tool for parents to learn how to help their kids when they're going through these things and they might not understand how to do it. And it's certainly for parents themselves. So it's a very deep book. It's for 12 and up, but it's for all ages.
Yes, the book is The Land of the Blue. As you were talking about it, I was getting the Kundalini goosebumps and chills, spiritual chills throughout. And it is available on Amazon, in your local Barnes & Noble, and through Jill's website. And have you found over the years that you've gotten so much positive feedback? I remember you were doing some book signings in the local Barnes & Noble here.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of interest in that book locally. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, we're really looking to bring it into the classroom because, especially in the world we live in now, it is a book that needs to be a part of the curriculum so that we are reading. It's a 422-page book.
Wow.
Unless you're an avid reader as a kid, you're not going to pick it up and read it with all the technology. So it's really a book that's meant to be dissected a little at a time. It can get real. It's very, very deep, but it can also get dark, and it's purposefully meant to do that,
Right.
to help kids to learn how to, make meaning of their suffering and their challenges. And so we'd like it to be in the classroom, whether it's in English or wellness classrooms, to be able to have, homework, 2 to 3 chapters a week, a chapter a week. Talk about it. Talk about the feelings it brings up, because I haven't met anybody who hasn't resonated in some way, shape, or form with some of the, character in the book. Or my grandmother was like this. I lived in that house. That was my grandfather. That was my grandmother. My kid is like that. It's been just really, really intense. And so it's a book, it sounds so cliche, it's a book for everybody, but it is. It is. Because none of us escape, challenges. We just don't.
And how did that come through? Do you feel like you, quote, channeled that book at all because of the content? And I mean, a lot of it comes from your experience as a counselor, but there is an energetic to it that,
Oh, yeah.
as we're talking about it, it's very healing, it's very provoking, and it's just very transforming. So you must have been tapped into something higher there as that content was coming through. Did you feel that?
Yeah. I mean, initially, like I said, the seed was planted when I had these kids coming in my office, and they would see things and not know what to do, parents not knowing how to help them. And so it was planted then, not that I thought I have to write a book right then, but
Right.
I thought, And then I really wanted to help kids how to work with OCD, how to talk back to their gremlins. It's a huge passion of mine. But when I started writing it, it was way bigger than me. It was an amazing experience. One of the greatest experiences of my life was writing that book.
That's excellent. Jill Sylvester, author. And then there's a third book, your Dream Agent Awaken book. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I will. An interesting story behind that is when I had come to you for an astrology reading for my birthday years ago, you had said to me way before I started writing, because it's a series, you said, you're going to write a young adult series.
Oh, wow.
And that's what this book is. So it's young adults about a girl named Devin. She's a 17-year-old who uses her intuition to solve crime. So book 1 is out now. Book 2 I'm wrapping up, so that'll be out in 2021. And again, same thing, dark and light themes, using your intuition. And it's a fun book. It is. It's a fun book.
What a great offering for teenagers and younger children, because we've talked about this in our therapy practices about how these kids these days, I say they started coming in the early 90s, but 90s, kids born in the 90s, the 2000s, and up to recent days, come in with some gifts and skill sets, and one of that being intuition and just knowing things. Like some of them we could say are old souls, but then some of them may be new souls who are actually new to the planet, but have some advanced gifts that we are going to need as we transition into new energies. So I don't think children or kids have access. There's not a lot, like a Harry Potter is more of a fiction and storytelling. I don't think that is as realistic as like something that you're offering in your books. And you found that over the years, these kids come in with special gifts and special skill sets. The anxiety, of course, goes along with it.
Sure does, yeah.
Like I say that these children come in, kids, young adults, with these advanced skills. However, society and the planet hasn't caught up with them yet. We aren't in the place that they signed up to be when they incarnated. Yeah. So they're waiting for the rest of us to catch up and waiting for society and people on the planet and civilization to catch up. And I think we're going through a pivotal time right now where we are going to go through a cultural and a societal and a collective transformation. And I think these children and these kids and young adults will be ready to take off at that point. But leading up to it, it's created all kinds of, ADHD, anxiety, and other issues. I mean, you see that all the time in your practice.
Yeah. And one of the things I'd like to say, too, about that is, you can certainly look at anxiety from a clinical perspective. I'm my background is clinical. I have a master's in counseling and check all those boxes, for sure. However, I have made a practice out of looking at the opportunity in anxiety and not necessarily hyper-focusing on a clinical lens, because anxiety is a good thing. And when we learn to read it and understand it, we become less afraid of it. And when we become less afraid of it, we don't look at it as a problem, that these kids have problems. We look at it as they are here to teach us. And it's really, really important. If you're a parent listening, or something you struggle with yourself, it is a gift. You just have to learn how to use it.
That's a beautiful reframe. Thank you, Jill. My guest today has been Jill Sylvester, healer, mental health counselor, therapist, and author. Check out her books on jillsylvester.com. Listen to her podcast, Trust Your Intuition. And thank you, Jill, for being my guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
Exciting news, folks. Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine is also a radio show broadcasting at a new time, Sundays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on WATD 95.9 FM, broadcasting to Boston South Shore, and streaming live on 959watd.com on Sundays at 11 a.m. The beauty of the radio show is that you can call in and get mini readings from me or my psychic guests. Call in at 781-837-4900 to get your reading, and tune in on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Hey listeners, I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Cosmic Scene with my guest, Jill Sylvester. Remember to subscribe to Cosmic Scene, download these episodes, share them, and give a 5-star review. This is Jill Jardine of Cosmic Scene signing off, sending you quantum healing, intuitive vibrations through the quantum field.